Okay, today we're going to talk about your second place to visit, which is your choice. So that's exciting news. Um, let's think back though when we were researching our first place to visit, our landform. What do you remember was important when finding a landform? Think back to that lesson. Pause the video if you need more time. Perhaps you were thinking that you had to look at multiple sources from the State Project website's 2021 Google Doc. And then you had to make sure you had enough information about it, right? That was one of our key questions was, is this a good place to visit? And do I have enough information? So today we're going to apply these same research skills that you've been using as you pick a place to visit of your choice. A quick word of caution. Do not just pick a place you really like, but rather look at your sources and pick an interesting place about which you can find enough information. So I know it might be tempting, for instance, if I'm doing Illinois and I really love Wrigley Field, I might want to just pick that as my choice place to visit. But if it's not in the research sources that I've been looking through, then it's not going to be a good choice for this project. That doesn't mean that later you can't, when we get to the project board, to have a little article on Wrigley Field that you write or something like that. But just for today's research purpose, you want to make sure you look at your sources and pick an interesting place that you can find information in the sources we've provided you. Hopefully, you'll have the same experience I did though, which I didn't read a lot about Wrigley Field, but I found through the research another really fascinating place to visit that I didn't even know about before here in Illinois. So hopefully you'll have a similar experience that the research will bring you to an exciting new finding. Okay, so let's talk about credible sources to use. And first, so all by credible, I don't know if you've heard that word before, but it means a source that you can count on that was written for educational purposes and it's a reliable source, good for academic purposes. So all of the websites that your teachers have found for you on your state project websites, these are credible sources. Your teachers are providing them because we've looked through, we know they have a good educational purpose. Okay, you'll also notice that on the top of your research sheet, again, it guides you to the websites that will be the most helpful. So it says Teachers First, PebbleGo, and Shepherd Software. Now, I wanted to model this a bit, how to find a place to visit on here because it's different than when you were finding a landform. Remember how when you were finding a landform on those sites, I told you to focus on geography and the land? Well, you're going to actually look in different sections when you want specifically your choice place to visit. So in PebbleGo, I went to the landmarks section, and that's where I was able to scroll through and find some really interesting places to visit. So I read about them, was keeping in mind, I was making a list of my own off on a separate sheet of paper before I even committed to writing down the final place to visit I chose. I was making a list of all the ones I found that seemed interesting to me, seemed like they might have enough information. Okay, so you want to look in landmarks on PebbleGo. On Teachers First, you want to look in sites to see and read there for more options. And then on Shepherd Software, there's going to be a section called What to See. Mine for Illinois was actually not very helpful, but hopefully yours will be. And one site I accidentally left off of this research packet, but we've said it a million times, it's a wonderful source, is World Book Student. So please make sure you check World Book Student as well. And the heading we'll look for here is the visitor's guide. That is going to give you another list of great places to visit. So once you've patiently, actively read through, then you're going to want to narrow it down to the most interesting place you found that seems like it's going to have enough information. So I really enjoyed reading on Pebble Go about these Cahokia mounds. Let me get it to pronounce it, see if I said it right. So, and I was reading the whole thing. Okay, so for that resource, another way to find credible information about the Cahokia mounds is to actually go back in World Book Student, and I showed you this last time. Well, first I could do a Control F search in my Illinois article to see if it has a little bit. Oh, look at that. It does have a little bit about the Cahokia mounds, and it even has a link to another article. Now, another tip I want you to know is, as we mentioned last time, you can directly search in World Book by clicking on that magnifying glass. And all of the articles you find in World Book are going to be worth your time because this is a credible source. So I could directly search my place to visit, and that actually led me to this great article about the whole area of Cahokia, and I actually ended up finding most of the information that I included in my description in this World Book article right here. Okay, one other option for finding credible sources is, of course, we know we could use Google Maps. That is just going to provide you a good picture of where your place to visit is relative to the whole state. So we'll search it in here. Don't forget, you'll have to zoom out to get a better picture of where it actually falls. I still can't see Illinois all that well. Let me zoom out a little further. Okay, and now I'm starting to see, okay, southwestern Illinois, right close to Missouri would be a good way to describe it. Now, off to the side on Google Maps over here, first of all, it's going to give me good information like the city that it's close to, but also this time it actually lists a website here. Now, we are not just going to Google our site and click on any site because what you find may not be a credible source. But here is my other tip for credible sources. If your Google search yields a site that has a .org or a .gov, then those are sites you can explore. Please don't just Google and pick any website because those are not always credible. Anyone can have a website with a .com if you follow the right steps, but to get a website with a .org and a .gov, the website creator actually has to go through a lot more of a vetting process to make sure that the information they're putting out is accurate. So since I had a .org site, I'm going to click on it and use that also for information. And again, we are informed readers of informational text, so I went to the headings and I found learn about would be a good place to start. And this gave me a nice little summary to get some additional information. So primarily, you're using our websites. However, if in a Google search you do happen to find a .org or a .gov, then those are great sources as well to explore further. Last step for today, I want to show you my finished product notes on the Cahokia mounds and ask you what you notice. So take a moment, look through, find out what you noticed. Perhaps you're noticing again that I had a lot of detail in this. I gave specific details saying the size, 2,200 acre piece of land. Like I said, I found a lot of this information on World Book, but you didn't get enough time to actually read the World Book article, but I didn't just copy directly the sentences I found in World Book. I read them, I made sure they made sense to me, and then I put them into my own words on my notes here. in a way that would make sense to me and future readers that I'm writing to. You might have already also noticed, again, I made the mistake. I forgot to circle my sources, but I would have circled Pebble Go and then list other sources, World Book, and I would have had to list, where was my .org? Kalkiamounds.org as another website that I used. So now that we've had a discussion, you know where to find credible sources and you know how to research, you're ready to go for it. One last tip I'll leave you with, your place to visit could be a city. So for instance, for Illinois, I might have wanted to see too if Chicago had a lot of information. And clearly, there's a whole article on Chicago. So that would definitely have enough information. In fact, the problem you might run into if you pick a big city, though, is you might end up with too much information because we want to narrow it down for our reader, too. So start off with some of those sections that I directed you towards on the websites and use those as your starting point. And like I said, I hope you have the same experience, that you find a really fascinating place to visit that you never even knew about in the state that you're studying. Good luck, researchers.